Imagine you buy a new red car for the first time in your life. You're driving home, feeling pretty good about it, and suddenly it hits you. Wait, there are a ridiculous number of red cars around. In the parking lot by your house, in traffic at the light, in your neighbor's driveway. You never noticed them before. Now they seem to have multiplied overnight. Spoiler, they didn't multiply. And that's the uncomfortable thing
another
you're about
red
to
car?
learn about your own brain today. The phenomenon we're talking about is called the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon, or in scientific terms, the frequency illusion. The name stuck almost by accident. Back in 1994, a reader of an American newspaper wrote in saying he'd heard a mention of the German terrorist group Baader-Meinhof
This
twice
story changes
in one day,
everything.
a group he'd never even heard of before. And it struck him as a suspicious coincidence. Journalists picked up the term, and it's stuck ever since as the name for exactly this effect. The formal scientific name, frequency illusion, was actually coined in 2005 by linguist Arnold Zwicky, who noticed the same thing happening to himself. He'd learn a new word, and it would immediately start showing up everywhere he looked.
This place is
To
amazing.
understand where this
know,
feeling
right?
comes from, you first have to accept an uncomfortable truth about your brain. It's physically incapable of processing everything that hits your retina and eardrums. Every single second, millions of bits of visual and
Relax
auditory
and
information
focus on the sound.
slam into you. If your brain genuinely tried to consciously process every car, every sign, every sound in the stream, you'd burn out from overload within
We
minutes.
must understand the deeper
So
patterns
the brain runs a hard filter
before
a
making
mechanism
any
called
decisions.
Selective attention. It's the exact same mechanism behind why, in a loud bar, you hear nothing but background noise. Until someone at the next table says your name, and you instantly pick it out of the din. Psychologist Colin Cherry
Let us
described
examine the
this back in
brainstem.
1953
Observe the
as
highlighted pons
cocktail
region.
party effect.
This area regulates
The
your
brain
breathing.
never
Notice the
fully
precise
switches
neural
off
pathways.
its background sound analysis.
Observe the
It
simplified
just doesn't
diagram on
let
the left.
most of it into conscious
Now,
awareness.
compare it to the
until
complex
it finds
network
a
on the right.
trigger that sharply raises the signal's priority. And here's the key point. Buying the red car is exactly that kind of trigger. You weren't physically blind to red cars before. They simply didn't have priority status to punch through the filter into consciousness. Now, the category red car has become personally significant to you, and the brain automatically bumps it up the priority list. Essentially, your perception just got a new search tag, and any object carrying that tag now gets waved straight past the filter. Worth an honest caveat here. Popular explanations of this effect often point to the reticular activating system, a network of neurons in the brainstem supposedly responsible for literally deciding what gets allowed into consciousness. The idea itself captures the gist of what's happening, but as a strict neuroanatomical model of this specific phenomenon, it's heavily oversimplified. Modern science describes selective attention as the product of a far more distributed network of structures, including the prefrontal cortex and thalamus, rather than one single filter switch. So the mechanism is real. It's just more complicated than the tidy popular diagram suggests. But that's not the whole story. The frequency illusion isn't actually one effect, it's two, glued together. The first is selective attention, which we just covered. The second is confirmation bias, the brain's tendency to actively seek out confirmation of an idea it already holds, while quietly ignoring everything that doesn't fit. You didn't just start noticing red cars more often. You also stopped registering the moments when there weren't any red cars around. Every time you spot a red car, your brain logs it as, there it is again. A small win for a confirmed expectation. And every time the street is full of nothing but blue and gray cars,
Another one.
nothing happens.
They're
No
everywhere
signal,
today.
Nothing worth remembering. So what's left in memory is only the confirming moments, creating the sense of a sudden spike in frequency. Even though, statistically, the number of red cars in the city hasn't changed by a single unit. This duo, selective attention and confirmation bias, actually has a close relative called illusory correlation. That's when the brain doesn't just notice individual cases more often, but starts perceiving a connection where physically none exists. A classic example from psychology: pregnant women frequently report that after finding out they're pregnant, they suddenly start seeing pregnant people everywhere on the street. Demographically, the actual number hasn't shifted by a single percentage point. What changed is just the category the brain now flags as significant, actively pulling it out of the stream of faces and silhouettes you used to walk past without ever consciously registering them. And here's the thoughtful, genuinely unsettling conclusion. If your perception of the world isn't an honest broadcast of reality, but the product of a hard filter plus a confirmation-biased memory layered on top, then you're not living in the world as it actually is. You're living in a filtered, personally edited version of it. And the worst part? You'll never know what percentage of reality is currently slipping
another
past
red car?
you, because the filter simply has nothing to latch onto. How much that actually matters.
Seriously? Another red car?
Opportunities, people, details, dangers exists around you right now, unable to earn a priority tag to break through into your conscious awareness. The good news is that this mechanism can be steered on purpose rather than just something you're a hostage to. The moment you consciously and explicitly name a category to yourself, a new word, an idea, a job opening, the type of person you want to meet, your brain immediately raises that category's priority in the attention filter. Psychologists call a related
This
process
story changes
priming,
everything.
pre-tuning perception through explicit naming or recent exposure to a concept. This, incidentally,
This
is why
story changes
practices like
everything.
keeping a goals list or doing specific visualization exercises actually work. You're not mystically attracting it from the universe. You're literally reprogramming your own attention filter to start letting through what it used to dismiss as background noise. So the next time you learn a new word and hear it 3 times in the same day, that's not a sign from the universe, and it's not a mystical coincidence. It's just your brain finally paying attention to something that was there all along. The only real question is, what are you noticing right now? And what will you keep walking past for months, simply because you haven't given it a name yet? If this video made you remember your own red car moment, drop it in the comments. And, of course, like and subscribe. We've got plenty more brain benders where this came from.